Welcome to Real Talk. Let me bring in the folks over on IG. Okay, I think we've got the folks on IG and we've got the folks over on YouTube. Welcome to Real Talk. Real Talk is presented by DQ Consulting, LLC, empowering individuals and businesses to grow with clarity and confidence. I'm Dr. Teresa A. Smith, Dr. Taz, and my co-host is OnJerya T. Smith. Tonight, we'll begin a powerful 6 weeks journey inspired by my upcoming book, Cracks in the Empire. What you refuse to face can break you. Our theme tonight is simply, the crack was never the problem. Ignoring it was. Many of us can identify what isn't working in our lives, the relationships, the habits, the fear, financial struggle, or unfinished dreams. The problem isn't that we don't see it. It's often that after we see it, we refuse to do anything about it. Tonight, we're talking about one important question. What's the crack in your empire?
Wait a minute. Hi, guys. Did you miss us? We've missed you too. Before we just pop off when, talking about the cracks in your empire, I just want everyone that is watching to participate. Want you to drop a comment, tell us where you're watching from. And of course, if you're willing to share, it is a safe space. Tell us, what is one area of your life that needs more attention right now? Where do you need some attention at, Teresa?
Well, OnJerya, thank you for warming up the office, the audience. Oh, I've gone to the office. I'm multitasking here on my other device. I was trying to get Facebook up on my device. So, it's a lot going on. So let's start with defining what we mean by a crack. A crack is not necessarily a crisis. It's that warning sign. It's the flashing yellow light. It's often that first indication that something requires attention. For example, we see that the communication is breaking down, be it with our personal relationships, family relationships, or jobs. We see that there's some financial stress increasing. It may be you got some health issues, and we all know that I understand health issues, and you've ignored them. Relationships, can become distant. You may lose passion for what you think is your purpose, but now it's like, I don't have any passion for my purpose anymore. The crack is often visible again long before the collapse actually takes place.
I agree with that. I think that's where so many people get stuck, right? Because as long as things are functioning, we convince ourselves everything is okay. And I can tell you right now, I have definitely been doing a good job at that, where the world is on fire, but I'm right on top of that rose. Everything is okay. Why? Because we keep telling ourselves, oh, it's not that bad. I'll deal with it later. I need just a little more time. What does oh my girl Lord Mary, not Tina. Oh, I see her, the other sister.
Okay.
She says, I need just a little more Jesus to keep me along the way. I need just a little more, just a little more. But as we know, that sometimes eventually becomes years, and then you look back and you're like, well, what happened?
Well, that's such a loaded question. What happened? Exactly. It's just the reality. The longer we ignore something, the more expensive it becomes emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and sometimes financially. What I would say to the audience is, what's the one warning sign perhaps that you've been ignoring? Because we all get them, but we don't always engage when we get the warning sign.
True. I know for me, one of my cracks of many is work-life balance. And I know we all can relate to that. We work And then it's like, but now I have to make time for my family. So whether that is, you have kids, you have other like responsibilities, like you make time, right? But you don't understand like the balance between the two, right? Because you become burnt out. And when you're burnt out, you definitely don't have time for nobody. You don't even have time for yourself. So recognizing some of those signs of, ignoring the fact that you need to slow down. We keep saying, oh, I'm tired. I
Mhm.
need to go to bed early. But did we ever go to bed early? No. We still up, what they say, burn the midnight oil, pulling these all nighters like we in college. Isn't that right, Teresa?
OnJerya is good at throwing shade, guys. And for those that know her, she'll throw shade in a heartbeat. And so she really talking about me. And I don't mind being transparent because we know I've talked a little bit about this book and that we came out of what I went through. And I am always a work in progress. And I'll be the first one to tell you that I haven't been doing what I needed to do. So she just recounting all of that for you, but understanding, I realized there was a crack again. And I knew that I had to make a change. As Michael said, we got to make a change. So I've instituted a change. And change happens one day at a time. So thank you for that lovely shade, OnJerya.
Always. Always. I wouldn't have it any other way because, again, you know, it's easy to see the cracks in other people,
Absolutely.
but it's hard for you to recognize the cracks in yourself. So that's why you have to do your due diligence to make sure that, as you always oh so nicely say at the end, before you take care of someone else, make sure you take care of you. Because as we know, as long as everybody else is happy, we feel, them feelings, I like to feel things. We feel that if everybody else is A-okay, then I'll be fine as well.
And that's not always the case. I'd like to just reset here and say that this segment is brought to you by Irene Baxberg. For years, doctors ignored her pain, and no one believed her. Then everything changed. Irene Baxberg now shares her journey from chronic pain to hope, inspiring thousands daily. Find Irene Baxberg on Instagram. Find her at Got Health _Vaxberg, VAKSBERG. Now, here's something I want us to think about. I just said, that I've been recognizing that there's a crack. And it's a small crack right now, and I have to get on top of it. But a problem happens once, but a pattern repeats itself. Okay? Because remember, I told you, I realized there's a crack. It's about to come again. And so many of us aren't dealing with isolated incidents, meaning we're dealing with repeated behaviors, and I'm very transparent. Repeated behaviors, choices, and outcomes.
But this is real talk. So let's just keep it real.
Okay.
If you keep attracting the same kind of relationship, if you keep making the same financial mistakes, if you keep abandoning your goals, the issue may not be the situation. The issue may be the pattern. I think was it Albert Einstein that said it best about the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. Well, you're not going to continue. As long as you stuck on that hamster wheel, as we like to call it, on that merry-go-round, on that Ferris wheel, you're never going to change the outcome because you're continuing the pattern.
Well, I want to say thank you to Jesus Blackman 23 for joining us over on IG. And, really, OnJerya, you've spoken the truth. If you're not going to deal with the pattern then the problem is going to persist. It's going to go away, but it's going to come back because, again, that's a crack. And sometimes, you seal it up for a little while, and then next thing you know, it's open again. So that's difficult for people, though, and I know better than most because patterns require accountability. It's easier to blame circumstances and hard to examine ourselves. And that's the reason why I'm being very transparent. After you throw me under the bus here and throwing all that shade on me, I realize that it's a pattern and that I have to intentionally every day work at that. I was in a dialogue with someone earlier today, and I said to them, because their thing is about focus. That's their platform. It's all about focus. And I said to them, I said, well, because I was thinking about this, that we often focus on the wrong thing.
Yep.
And when we focus on the wrong thing, it makes it easier for the pattern to repeat itself. So I want to be perceived a certain way. So I am going to focus on what that is, the way that I want to be perceived. So everything that I do goes along to support that. Well, that's what's causing the crack, because that's my pattern. And for me, I'm just so passionate about everything that I do. And there's only 24 hours in a day. And I just can't quite get that in my head. And I know it sounds crazy. And sometimes I have it and then I don't have it again. There's only 24 hours in a day. You can only do so much. So when you put that pressure on yourself, which then causes the cracks in my empire, because we're talking about my physical body, my mental health, my social, emotional health, all of that. That's the crack that's in my body. When I do that, and I know the pattern, and I know the warning signs, because they've been flashing like y'all just wouldn't believe. But then that means I'm not taking accountability, and I have to be able to take accountability. So to the audience, I say, what's the pattern that keeps showing up in your life? I know mine. They just keep showing up. They won't go away. And they have been with me when I think about it my whole life, because I'm still doing the same thing that I've always done. And as you said, that is the definition of insanity, OnJerya. I just don't want to be perceived as insane.
No, and I agree with you. Like, I definitely know, like, my patterns too. Like, and, it's no secret. I talk about it, like, all the time. Like, for me, I don't take care of me, right? Like, I'm too busy making sure that everyone is okay, whether it's at work. Lord knows it's at work. Like, it's to the point that, like, I have coworkers who are like, "Are you okay? How are you doing today?" And I don't like people asking me that. I can ask you that, right? I can ask you, how are you doing? But don't get to ask me how I'm doing, because I might just break down into tears and just fall apart, okay? Because, I'm doing all that I can just to, continue to show up and show out and do what I do. Because, again, that is a pattern. But I'm also questioning, Teresa, is it a pattern? But is it also a learned behavior?
Well, I think that's a great question. And our patterns learned behavior? Because I
Good
think for
question.
me, it's learned behavior because I instituted that pattern, which I didn't understand that it was going to become a pattern. I instituted it as a way to protect myself. It was a trauma response. And so I instituted my safety net. I instituted my hug, my warm hug. And so therefore, it gives me a sense of, I want to say the word peace, but not the way you would think that peace means. It levels me out because it was protection for me. So once I enacted that, I activated one of the twins activate. I activated that superpower. Well, once I activated the superpower, unlike the television, because I know we watch a lot of stuff on our phones, but unlike the television, I don't know how to turn it off.
Yep.
You see, that's the problem. I can't turn it off. And since I can't turn it off, that means the pattern, well, the safety net has become my mode of operating. And I operate like that in all aspects of my life. It would be different if you only operated like that in one aspect. Because remember, there's only 24 hours in a day. Every aspect of my life, I operate at that level. And I'm a human being. So my human body, this vessel, cannot take the pressure that I put on it. So, yeah, I think for me, it has become a learned behavior, but most things probably are learned behavior. We don't think about it from that perspective. Yeah. So, again, I think that when we talk about why people ignore what they already know, it's not because we lack information, because we got plenty of information.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Taz now. I got plenty of information. There was one thing I thought of recently, like in the last, could have been 30 minutes ago. It was something else that was happening with me when I was battling the crack last year. And I thought, oh yeah, you did have that little issue too, didn't you? Oh, I'm gonna tell you what it was. And we were talking about this very recently, and I'm going to be sharing some things that I used. I had last year, I think I had 3 styes to come on my eye.
Yeah.
And I said to you, I'm like, oh, that's a problem. Because I've had styes when I was a little girl, and I lost my sight. And so I'm very in tune to my sight. And I'm like, this is not right. You don't have a style like in March and you got another one in June. That just doesn't work. And I already know that my oil ducts the oil is thick. So I'm supposed to do, like you heard me, suppose. I'm supposed to do warm compresses every day. I'm supposed to do warm compresses every day, according to my eye doctor. And so, anyway, that was before last year's incident. That's the maintenance. Well, last year I had 3 styes, and I'm like, this is a problem. This is a problem. And so the last doctor, and they gave me different medication, they weren't going away. And so the last doctor, he suggested I use these Aqua Soft scrubs that I'll be sharing with you guys. Because one, it will allow me to basically scrub my eyelids at the edges, but also when I think about it, it will massage them. And then if I do my warm compresses, then the oils will become more liquefied, and then my eyes won't be puffy, which means it would lead to perhaps buildup, which causes a sty. Well, that was happening last year while there was a crack in my empire. Well, my eyelid has been a little puffy. And that's how I remembered that was also one of those warning signs, one of those symptoms that something was amiss. But again, it wasn't that I lacked the information. No, I lacked action. I lacked follow through because, again, the doctor said, do the warm compresses every day. Now, they probably told me that 25 years ago, but somebody told me recently about 4 or 5 years ago. And I said, well, da-da-da-da-da. And she said to me, it was an African American female doctor. She said to me, you've never been this age before. Now, there was a white young guy that was working with her. He could see that I didn't like it. And I probably said something else. And she kept saying to me, you've never been this age before. You've never been this age before. Now, what this woman was trying to get me to understand was, you got a problem. You've been told how to treat your problem. Now, maybe you've been able to skip by, when you were younger, and you was okay for a while. But you see, you keep having this problem come up. Age has kicked in now. So before you could not do the treatment like you should, but you might want to do the treatment now, Miss Spear. Well, that's what she told about 4 or 5 years ago. Now, last year I had that crack, and the symptoms with my eyes too, because I had all the information, but I chose not to do it. I chose not to follow the doctor's advice. And then when I saw the last doctor last year, he said, well, now, if this doesn't remove it, we'll have to go in and get it. Now, I'm just not wanting to have no surgery on my eyelid because I won't follow instructions. So I tried to do better because I was out of work for 3 months. So I started trying to do what the doctor said, and it worked. And right now I got to get back on it because I see a little puffiness coming. So again, I use that example because it's real life. I had all the information. I just did not use the information. And I want to say thank you to Bill Amy for joining us over on IG. I just didn't use the information.
And it's funny because most people would think like, it's the fear, right? Oh, it's the fear of, what am I going to lose? The fear of, disappointing people, the fear of like starting over, the fear of failing or even succeeding. But to me, based off just this example that you gave, it was the fear of action. You didn't want to act on it. And you waited until it got too bad. And now you're sitting here. And I know the doctor want to be like, baby, let me hold your hand. Give me your hand, Teresa. Just want to go.
Yeah, I
Nah,
need.
I done told you. You know how to. I know sometimes these doctors want to be like, I done told you. But you but we hard headed sometimes. We don't want to listen. We don't want to listen. Why? Because we want to do it our way. This is Burger King. Burger King said you can have it your way. Well, when you got these cracks, depending on the crack, baby, you can't have it your way. Because having it your way can sometimes have an outcome that is not desirable.
Well, and Jay, I think you said fear of action because we know I had all the information. I got all the information right now. I think, we like to think it's comfort. We talk about it being familiar, even when it's unhealthy, it's hurting us, and even when we know better. But I'm going to go with the person that I was talking to earlier today. I think it's the focus. My focus was not on what was most important. Even though I knew my eyesight is very important, having lost my eyesight in 79, my eyesight is very important. I'm always in touch with anything with my eyes.
Yeah.
But I didn't have focus. I wasn't focusing on that. The other health issues that I was having, I kind of like, I won't focus on none of that. I've had a few pains here recently. I'm like, well, you do have a test coming up, But I also said to you about some of those pains. Some of the pains is to get my attention because we know I done gone off the deep end, and I know it, and it's like flashing red lights. So again, well, it ain't red light because red light you need to stop. It's the yellow light telling me to slow down, and that's the reason I wore yellow. But the thing is, I think it's the focus.
Yeah.
What had my focus? My health didn't have my focus. It had a little bit of my focus, but the outcome of what would happen if I did not stop what I was doing, I couldn't see that. So that should have been my focus. What's gonna happen to you if you can't rein this in? Forget the obligations, baby. What's gonna happen to you? So my focus was off. And I want to bring that up for people because I think we don't think of it as focus, but it's focus. Or we might say, what's got your attention?
Yeah.
Well, the wrong thing had my attention, you see. So, and if we think about it, particularly for me, I should always be the focus. My well-being should always be the focus. That's the reason why I say the saying at the end, because it's for me to hear that constantly, every moment of the day. But my well-being is not my focus. And I throw that out there because I wonder how many other people, when we boil it down to that, your well-being in all aspects should be the focus. Then I wonder, how you answer that question, you know?
I agree. And the thing that I've learned is that awareness and action, they're not the same thing. You can know exactly what needs to change and still avoid it. And you basically have shown that when you've been talking about your eyes. Like, like you are aware, right? Because this is something that you've been dealing with for quite some time. This is nothing new. But the thing is, you are kind of just refusing avoiding to make the change. Because as you stated, you are not taking care of you. You have lost that focus because you're focusing on everything else around you, meaning that you're no longer the priority. So here we have this bottle of water. You are, this sound really, it look real bad. But anyway, work with me, people, work with me. This is you. You know, they used to say, this is your brain on drugs. If you know, you know. But you are this bottle of water. Here is the mouse. The mouse is everything around you. It's just orbiting around you, orbiting around you, orbiting around you, orbiting around you. Why? Because everything is important. The job is important. The bills are important. Your family's important. Your man's important. These organizations are important. And they just orbiting all around you, orbiting all around you. And you know what's happening? While they orbiting all around you, this is you.
That's me.
This is you. You just sleeping, just losing. Like it's like a balloon, just slowly. That's what's happening. You're losing you're losing your energy. And guess what? You are the one that's suffering the consequences because you didn't take heed to the warning signs because you were avoiding them and didn't make the necessary change. So my thing is now who is suffering?
Well, OnJerya, that is a wonderful example. And, you know, it was very powerful, really. And I'm the one that's suffering because knowledge alone doesn't transform lives, actions do. And you talk all the time about accountability because I don't have proper focus. I'm not taking accountability for the most important thing. The most important thing is always going to be Taz. I'm sorry, babe. It's always going to be Taz. And we believe that when we say that, it sounds like I'm being selfish, but I'm not, because when Taz is not well, nothing else moves, baby. It doesn't move. That the engine that has to move it and propel everything forward, it doesn't do it. So if I can't be intentional, which means I got to be accountable, which means there's going to have to be action in order for me to be accountable. If I can't bring all of that together, then I'm just I'm that little I'm about to be knocked over because pretty soon all the little water gonna be at the bottom and all that stuff that's orbiting around me, I'm just gonna be down for the count. You don't want to be down for the count, you know, and we can be down for the count for so many different things because our cracks are different. Everybody got a crack. Now the question is, what's yours? And let's be honest, we got multiple cracks, you know. So, you know, I guess the question becomes, have we ever known exactly what needed to change but delayed taking action? Well, I'm gonna tell you, I already told you, I know what needs change. I know it needs change. But that means I'm gonna have to handle me. Judge Mathis talks about tough love, I think is how he put it. You can't handle me with kid gloves. Now everybody else better handle me with kid gloves, but I'm gonna have to handle me with non-kid gloves because I'll just, you know, that phrase, I just roll right over what I say I need to do. You know, it's like it doesn't register for me. So I can't handle me with kid gloves. And I share that, guys, because you know what will make you move. We all do. So when we have to make changes, we have to make changes based upon what we know about ourselves internally, not what we present to the world. Because that's not going to make change in your life, and your crack is going to continue to get wider and wider. I know. If you're ready to grow your business with clarity and real strategy, DQ Consulting works with individuals and organizations to turn vision into execution. Visit AskDrTaz.com, AskDrTas.com to learn more. After saying all of that, OnJerya, I realized that every decision has a cost, but so does indecision. So let's talk about what avoidance costs us. Peace, opportunities. Oh, Jesus, I just had a thought. Relationships, our confidence, our growth. It costs us time, and time is a premium because I've already said we only got 24 hours in a day. So you can't afford to waste time. So it really does cost us, but for some reason, we don't seem to understand that, oh, I'll deal with that another day, what the outcome or the consequences of saying that is.
And the thing is, I talk about this all the time at work, but you know, sometimes what we refuse to face today becomes a crisis tomorrow. So that's what happens when you become reactive instead of being proactive. And you've demonstrated that with the example of your eyes, right? Because it didn't happen overnight,
Mm.
but there were signs, we were just ignoring them.
Yep. Anjay, it's funny because I'm so transparent. I knew there was a problem. I would camouflage it. I would put on different glasses because I could see, and I was doing videotapes actually, guys, and you're probably gonna see this soon. I was doing videotapes, and you could see that something was wrong with my eyes. But I chose to keep moving.
Yeah.
Instead of sitting down, instead of taking a warm compress and putting those on my eyes 3 times a day. I chose to keep moving. And so, again, the crack wasn't new. I could have been proactive. And, let me just say, we refused to address it. But in that case, I won't even react until I kind of understood that that won't go away, but I won't even do anything really to help it go away. I won't doing the other stuff. I was taking the medicine. I won't doing all the stuff that I'm supposed to do. So you see, it was never going to be addressed. I wasn't taking accountability. I wasn't trying to disrupt the pattern.
Yeah.
So, so we see that procrastination can cost you because we see what it was costing me. Here I am knowing I got to take care of my eyes and knowing how I feel about that, but I'm not doing what I need to do. So that's on me. I can't blame the doctors and say they weren't treating me properly. They were treating me properly. I just won't do what they told me to do. Now, how many other people out there not doing what the doctors told you to do because they say don't eat this, don't eat that, don't do this. They may say exercise, whatever, but you're not doing that. You can just let me know offline because I won't put nobody on the spot here. But we don't ever do what they tell us to do. Not really. I want to say over on IG, thank you, Nikki Hyman, for joining us. We don't ever really do what they say to do, but then sometimes we do. Isn't that right, OnJerya?
It is because, you're basically like delaying difficult decisions or the necessary changes that need to be created, need to be done, because all you're doing is just adding on additional stress, allowing the problems to grow and get larger and larger and larger. And see, that's what you were doing. You said you were over here camouflaging, putting on different pairs of glasses, combing the hair. Well, my hair kind of one way right now, but you got your hair like this one day. Yes, you got like this one day, and maybe the next time you got it on this side right here the next day. Oh boy, this is gonna be fun on the replay. No, because again, you are avoiding the inevitable. So for me, what I have learned along this journey is that there is no perfect time. They keep saying we're gonna wait for the perfect time. Baby, there is no perfect time. The time is now. The time was yesterday. The time was 10 years ago. The time, am I talking to myself? Come on, baby. The time was 3 years ago. Promises was all I heard. But yet we kept waiting, kept holding on for the perfect time. There's no such thing. So, what I want to leave everyone with this challenge, it's not a huge challenge, nothing overwhelming, right? I just want you to take one step. Just one step. Acknowledge. Focus, as you would like to say, Teresa. I just want you to focus. Just take the time to focus on who you, me, the empire.
The empire.
The empire.
Well, OnJerya, I think that you have really summed it up. We knew 3 years ago. You knew 6 months ago.
Oh,
You knew 10 years ago, you knew last week, you knew earlier today that that was going to be a problem and that there was a pattern. There's a pattern, and now it's a problem. And you know that you need to nip that. But it's hard sometimes to make a change, but we have to make a change in order for our building, our empire to remain solid so it's not crumbling. So, again, just start with one thing. But I want to tell you tonight wasn't about fixing everything. It
yeah,
was about awareness because transformation begins with truth.
yeah,
The moment you stop pretending, you stop minimizing, you stop making excuses, you stop avoiding, that's when it begins. And you cannot heal what you refuse to acknowledge. You can't change what you refuse to confront. So join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for week 2, The Cost of Avoidance. We'll discuss what ignoring the issue is really costing you. So until next time, the crack was never the problem. Ignoring it was. And you know the drill. Before you go trying to take care of somebody else, make sure you take care of yourself first. Bye now.
bye.